In this video, we are going to discuss Edgar Allan Poe's strange life, as well as discuss two very important poems written by Poe. One of those poems being Annabel Lee, which is known most for being Edgar Allan Poe's final complete poem, first published in 1849 after his rather strange death. The second poem, The Raven, is most known for its mysterious talking raven that visits. But first, let's discuss a bit about Edgar Allan Poe's life. Early life, 1809 to 1826. Edgar Allan Poe was born on January 19, 1809, in Boston, Massachusetts. His parents, David and Elizabeth Poe, were traveling actors, but tragedy struck early. His father abandoned the family, and his mother died of tuberculosis when Poe was just 3 years old. He was taken in by John and Frances Allan, a wealthy couple from Richmond, Virginia, though they never officially adopted him. John Allan, a successful merchant, provided Poe with good education, but he was strict and distant, often clashing with Poe over money and discipline. Poe attended the University of Virginia in 1826, but struggled financially because Allan refused to support him fully. He turned to gambling to pay his debts, but ended up owing money instead. Frustrated, he dropped out just after 1 year. Early military service, 1827 to 1831. After leaving university, Poe had a difficult time supporting himself. In 1827, he moved to Boston and published his first poetry collection, Tamerlane and other poems, but it went mostly unnoticed. He then enlisted in the U.S. Army under the name Edgar A. Perry and served for 2 years. With Allan's help, Poe later gained admission to the West Point Military Academy, but he deliberately got himself expelled in 1831 after clashing with his stepfather again. Afterwards, he moved to Baltimore to live with his impoverished relatives, including his aunt Maria Clem and her daughter Virginia Clem. Writing career and marriage, 1831 to 1841. Poe began focusing entirely on writing, struggling to make a living. He worked for several literary magazines and became known for his literary criticism and dark, imaginative stories. In 1835, he married his 13-year-old cousin, Virginia, which was not unusual at the time, but obviously would have been a massive crime today. In 1841, he gained recognition for the murders in the Rue Morgue, considered the first modern detective story. His fame grew with publications like The Telltale Heart in 1843 and The Black Cat also in 1843, but he still faced financial hardships. His most famous poem, The Raven, was published in 1845, bringing him widespread fame but little financial reward. Decline and mysterious death, 1847 to 1849. Virginia Poe died of tuberculosis in 1847, sending Poe into a deep depression and worsening his struggles with alcohol and illness. He attempted to revive his life, pursuing new relationships and planning to start his own magazine, but his mental and physical health declined. In October 1849, Poe was found delirious in the streets of Baltimore, wearing unfamiliar clothes. He was taken to a hospital where he died on October 7, 1849, at the age of 40. The exact cause of his death remains unknown, with theories ranging from alcohol poisoning, rabies, heart disease, or even foul play. Legacy. Despite his tragic life, Poe is now regarded as a master of Gothic horror, mystery, and detective fiction. His work continues to influence literature, film, and pop culture today. Annabel Lee poem, stanza 1. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know. by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love. I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. Stanza 6. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life, my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Annabel Lee poem explanation. Stanza 1. In stanza 1, the speaker sets the scene in a distant past, almost like a fairy tale, describing kingdom by the sea. He introduces Annabel Lee, a young woman whose sole purpose, he claims, was to love and be loved by him. This suggests an idealized, pure, and almost obsessive love. The repetition of many and many a year ago gives it a dreamy, nostalgic tone. Stanza 2. The speaker emphasizes their youth, calling both himself and Annabel Lee children. However, he insists their love was stronger than ordinary love, so powerful that even the angels, or seraphs, in heaven were jealous. This exaggeration makes their love seem almost supernatural and suggests a conflict between divine forces and human love. Stanza 3. The speaker believes that Annabel Lee's death was caused by the jealous angels who sent a cold wind to make her sick. This introduces the idea of fate or supernatural interferences in their love. Her high-born kinsmen, likely her family, possibly nobles, take her away and bury her in a tomb, sepulchre, separating them physically. The repeated phrase, in this kingdom by the sea, reinforces the setting and the sense of tragic nostalgia. Stanza 4. The speaker doubled down on his belief that supernatural jealousy caused Annabel Lee's death. He repeats the claim that the angels were envious, making it sound like a universal truth, as all men know. The idea that a mere wind could chill and kill suggests fragility and possibly references tuberculosis or another illness. Stanza 5. The speaker insists that their love was stronger than that of older, wiser people, reinforcing the idea that youth can experience a deep love. He now brings in demons as well, showing that both heavenly and hellish forces cannot break their bond. The word dissever, meaning to separate, emphasizes his belief that their souls are internally connected despite death. Stanza 6. The speaker reveals that Annabel Lee is consistently in his thoughts, symbolized by the moon and the stars reminding him of her. He sleeps beside her tomb every night, unable to let go of his love for her. The repetition of, my darling, my life, and my bride heightens the emotional intensity, showing his grief and devotion. The final image, him lying next to her tomb by the sea, suggests obsession, possibly madness, as he refuses to accept separation. Themes and final analysis. Love and obsession. The poem explores a love so strong that it defies death, though the speaker's action suggests an unhealthy obsession. Fate and supernatural elements. The speaker blames angels for Annabel Lee's death, implying that higher forces are against their love. Innocence and loss. The poem portrays youthful love as pure but tragically doomed. Memory and mourning. The speaker lives in a constant state of grief, unable to move on, which raises questions about the effects of intense love and loss. The Raven reading and summary. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book's surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, or "Madame, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there and nothing more. Deep into that darkness, peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," I said, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then, what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here, I flung the shutter, when with many flirt and flutter. In there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mane of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, belging my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though thy chest be shorn and shaven, though, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's plutonium shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird across his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if its soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by replies so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the digers of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven, still begulling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust adore. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my blossom score. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that the lamplight gloated over, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloated over shall she press? Ah, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by the seraph whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by the angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from the memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind of nepenthe, and forgot this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether temper sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there a balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Edin. It shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, who the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign in parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's plutonium shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thou so have spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never fitting, still is sitting on the placid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamplight over him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. The Raven Summary. The poem follows a grieving man who is mourning the loss of his beloved Lenore. One night, as he reads in his chamber, he hears a tapping at his door. When he opens it, he finds nothing but darkness. Eventually, a mysterious raven enters and perches above his door. The speaker begins talking to the raven, hoping it has some wisdom or message from beyond. However, the raven only ever responds with one word, nevermore. This drives the speaker into despair as he realizes he will never be reunited with Lenore. The poem ends with the speaker trapped in sorrow, believing his soul will never escape the raven's shadow.